again everyone, and welcome to another video. I hope you're keeping well. I'm going to do another little garden camp tonight, but this one's going to be more of a review of a brand new tent, my dream tent that I've wanted for a lot of years, and it's a Terra Laser Competition 1. It's a really lightweight little backpacking mountain marathon style tent. It weighs about 900 and something grams, so it's under the kilo mark, which was what I was looking for. And it's actually my lightest shelter. It's even lighter than my Radbridge Raider Hoot Bivvy, which is incredible. So initially I'm really pleased with it. I've had a couple of practices setting it up and setting it up with the customised Tyvek ground sheet that I bought to go with it. Saved a bit of money there rather than buying a Terra footprint for it. Fairly easy to set up. At first it was a bit trickier than some of my other tents, but it seems all good. Very good quality, feels very lightweight, quality fabrics, and you can feel the quality. You can feel the money there, which I'll get onto a little bit later about how much I actually spent on it. Got it at a bit of a bargain on eBay as always. So I'm going to sleep in it tonight, see what it's like, and I'll give you a bit more of a review in the morning, and maybe before I go to sleep as well. And of course we'll review a little cider as well, why not? Be rude not to. You've got a really spacious porch with this tent. It's a long porch, but it's the same width all the way along the tent, so you could fit your rucksack, your shoes. You can easily cook in it. I've not actually tried yet, but I can clearly see from using my Outkit Kraku gas stove, just putting it there, that the flames are going to be nowhere near the fly sheet of the tent, so you'd probably be alright to use even like a little alcohol stove. You just keep it in the middle of the porch, so I think that'll work fine. Got my little Haze Outdoors cut down mat there, and you can see the Tyvek ground sheet that I bought off eBay for this tent. It's a lot cheaper than an actual Terra Laser Competition 1 footprint. They're about £50–60, and this I got for £20, so some savings there. And it's probably a little bit lighter, and I can modify it if I want as well. You don't have to have it with just 4 loops for pegs. So instead of just having the 4 loops for the pegs on the ground sheet, the footprint there in the 4 corners, you can actually add Tyvek tape and loops to these corners here on the side, so you can pull out the sides of the tent. So like here and then here, so you trim the Tyvek down to fit under the tent there, kind of like the Helm 1 tent really. It's just got a loop there, and there. So you could have it like that, or you can add the loops on here, and the guy has provided those loops and Tyvek tape as well. And he even provided me with a little diagram, because I said I've never owned one of these tents before and I'm not really sure how to set it up and how to fit the Tyvek footprint to it that you've sold me. And he owns one of these tents, so he knows how to use it. So he very kindly sent me an eBay message and a little diagram that he'd taken a photo of how to do it. And I thought that's really good customer service. So if you are interested in any of these stuff, I'll try and provide a link or some way of finding his eBay shop in the details below the video. So inside the tent, and I would say it's cozy but not cramped. I'm 5'10", so for me it's just right. It's just the right amount of space I need, with no sort of extra unnecessary space. The porch is really big. It's kind of, it runs the whole length of the tent, and it's more or less the same width the entire length. It doesn't really narrow off at the end, so you've got tons of space in there as well. You can easily cook in this porch. I've currently got the camera set up on the tripod in there, and I've got like a little glass jar with a citronella candle burning in it. I find, of course, that helps keep the bugs at bay. Not that it matters because I've got a mesh zip up door, but mainly just provides some ambience, so I can fall asleep just to a that flickering sort of light. And of course it's safe because it's inside a jar. There, benefits of garden camping. Got my little table set up in here as well, in the porch. Space for my shoes, a big sit mat. I could fit my rucksack in there as well, but I've got it in here under my pillow as like an extra pillow. So yeah, so far I really like the tent. The only thing I'm not particularly keen on is the fact it hasn't got a light hanging loop in the sleeping area, in the ceiling. Usually for me that's like a prerequisite, and I suppose Terra have left that out in a bid to cut weight as much as they can, which I kind of think is a bit stupid, because it's not going to add that much weight having a tiny little bit of material as a loop. So what I've done is I've got one of those little mini cable ties, and I've attached it to the zip on the door. So I'll zip the door up and show you, and I've just got a simple little clip light from Polymath products that Kent Survival gave me ages ago, and if I can get it off the loop there, and it's just this little light here, and all I do is I just clip it on the bedroom door zip. Trying to do that one-handed's difficult. There we go, clip that on, zip the door up, and I've got a light inside the sleeping area now. So I think that's quite reasonable really. That cable tie is not adding a lot of weight. The zips are, what are they, the YK, what's the fancy zip maker, anyway, it's those zips anyway, so they're good quality zips on the tent. It's just they've not got any toggles or anything, they're literally just the zip. As I say, they're trying to cut weight. And there's also no internal storage pocket on the tent inside the sleeping area, which is different. Usually most tents have got a storage pocket in here to put stuff. You don't get none of that with this. They're taking all those little features out and just giving you a basic lightweight tent but good quality. So it's different. I'll show you a bit more in the morning and give you a bit more of an in-depth review as best I can. Off yawning, I'll see you in the morning. Slept really well in the new tent last night. It's actually the second night I've spent in this tent, and yeah, it was good. I mean, I always sleep pretty well in the garden anyway, so I suppose it's not the most accurate tests, but the tent seemed fine. There's enough room in there for me and all of my gear, and I don't feel cramped. I feel cozy. I think I said that last night. Some people are going to say that it's a bit too cramped for their liking, but I kind of like that kind of feeling of being protected in like a small enclosed space like that. I think I'd rather that than have too much space, and of course the larger the tent, the more it's going to weigh, of course. So everything on the tent seems to be of good build quality. These guy lines are very thin, they're like Dyneema cooled, but they seem pretty sturdy, and they're attached to this outer pole sleeve, which you don't have to have. However, that's where the guy lines are attached to, and so far from what I've determined, it seems that you need to have the guy lines out to really pitch the tent nice and taut. The material, I think it's ripstop because it's got the checkered pattern on it. It's very lightweight, feels very thin, but it also does feel sturdy. And of course I haven't used it in rain yet because it's absolutely baking hot at the moment here in England. The pegs that the tent comes with are like the tiny titanium 2-gram pegs, and they're a bit of a gimmick really. That's, I suppose, one of the main ways that Terra have kept their tents so light, is by using those. And they'd work okay in the garden like this, but anywhere else, like out wild camping, they're probably not going to anchor the tent into the ground very well. So I've swapped them out for my like Y or X shaped pegs, and they're still pretty lightweight, but they're a lot sturdier and they really anchor stuff into the ground. So with those pegs, of course, the tent is now going to weigh a little bit more, but that's fine. I'd rather sturdy pegs, to be honest. It's still going to be the lightest tent I own by a country mile, so I'm happy with that. I do like the colour scheme of the Terra tents. This one in particular, you've got that kind of dark racing green, the black and the yellow inner. It's really nice, and it's actually not too bright in there. In the morning when you wake up and the sun's bearing down on the tent, it's usually quite light in tents, and you know the sun wakes you up, and I usually just wear an eye mask to counter that problem. But with the yellow and the dark racing green, as I'm going to call it, doesn't actually make it too bright in there. So it's the one thing I wish more tent manufacturers would use darker inners. They have cut a lot of things out of this tent in order to keep that weight as low as possible. So if there's unnecessary fabric on there, they've removed that, and it's good and bad in a way. It's good for weight saving, but it does make the tent slightly tougher to pitch, I find. When you're trying to get this pole in the little eyelet, you haven't got anything to grab hold of to pull to get the pole in, so that's a little bit tougher, but I'm sure I'll find a way around that the more I use this tent. So let's take you for a little tour around the tent. As I say, it's got this pole sleeve which is optional. You can take that off if you want, but then you won't be able to have the guy lines on it, and all it does is just cover the pole up, which actually fits in its own sleeve that's attached to this. All the guy out points are like double stitched and reinforced, and they feel pretty strong. It's been stitched pretty well, and it looks like it might have been seam sealed on the inside. If you want to increase the ventilation of the tent, what you can do is you can roll up this bit here and then clip it here. That's what that toggle there's for. These points here, that's probably where there's going to be a lot of stress on it, but it's double stitched. It looks pretty good. I've done a good job of it. This Tyvek ground sheet, this footprint, like I said, you can trim it up, or I've also got some extra loops and Tyvek tape that the seller gave me to attach out to these corners as well. So yeah, you can roll those up, and of course there's air vents at each end of the tent just to increase the ventilation. there was some condensation on the inside of the fly sheet this morning, but none of it was dripping on me or anything. It wasn't that bad, to be honest with you. I always think it's just kind of normal really for a tent, and once the sun was on it, it dried it out anyway, but I suppose that would help increase it. So that's sort of a cross section of the pegs that I'm now using. Like I said, the 2 gram titanium ones that come with the tent aren't much use. The pole sleeve is tied on down here to the pole. The pole for the tent is a DAC alloy lightweight pole. I think it's magnetised, so it clicks together pretty easy, and it's all shock cooled inside. They're good poles, pretty sturdy. Dyneema guy lines, I believe, very thin but strong, with nice little line locks on, so easy to adjust. And that's round the other side with the ventilation point again. The porch, like I say, there's plenty of space in there. I can fit my mat in there easily and close the door. So the door is held back by a little toggle there and a little loop on the inner. Just hold it back there so you can't roll it down. And the zips are nice and clean, they don't get caught. And I mentioned last night they are YKK, that's it. But there's no little toggles or anything on it, it's just the zip. And then at the bottom, when you've got really bad weather, there's a little clip on the underside. Where is it? Just there. See that clip there? And the other side of the clip is just there, centre of the screen. So you can just clip it together and it will take the strain out of the zip when the tent's getting buffeted by strong wind, which you'll want in bad weather. I mean, this tent, they've said, is a 3-season tent, and you probably wouldn't want to use it up a mountain or in really bad weather, but that's fine, because I'm probably not going to be doing any mountains with it, maybe some hills, but nothing major really. And I've got other tents anyway that are more suitable for that kind of terrain and those conditions, like the Helvellyn 200, even my Helm 1, so that's fine. So the inner door is part mesh, part material, nice big wide mesh door so you can see out of, and nice and fine, lets some air in, but it sort of keeps the warmth in the tent as well at the same time, if that makes sense. You notice it when you open it, the temperature change, and of course keeps the bugs away. And it's got dual zippers, so you can open it each way, or you can have a little bit open. Now this is my next criticism of the tent, is there isn't anywhere to roll the door back to and clip in place, so it would just hang loose. Once again, I just think Terra could have added something in, and it wouldn't have added any weight at all really, just to keep the door secure, like, you know, like a toggle system and a little loop. That would work fine. So let's head inside the tent, and what I've done is, because it also hasn't got a light loop in the ceiling up there, once again something else they could have added in, I think. What I have done is added a cable tie to the zip just to hang my little light from. And if I ever did sell the tent, which I'm not planning to anytime soon, definitely, if I wanted to sell it, I could just cut that off, and it's not altered the tent permanently. Got an air vent up the end there, and then turn round, there's another one at that end as well. So I think it's pretty well ventilated, and I've got loads of space in here. I say loads of space, I've got enough space for me. Most of you should probably say that's not enough space, Tom. I want to be able to play cards in the tent with 3 other people. Well, you need a family tent then. This does the job for me for wild camping, long distance trips. I deem this a relaxed kind of space for me. A bivvy is more rough in it, I think. So it's sort of got like a slight bathtub floor, not particularly high, and it feels quite thin material, the ground sheet, and you think, oh, it's not going to be much use, but I don't know, I reckon it'll hold out. I've watched a few other reviews and they sort of said the same thing really, and I agree. It feels like it could be a black bag, but it's not. Pretty good. So I've just got sleeping clothes and warm clothes if it gets cold, just a ditties bag of stuff, lights and batteries, things like that in, and then just a long sleeve thermal top and some base layer leggings just to sleep in at night. And then up the far end I've got my Osprey Exos 48 litre rucksack and all the empty stuff sacks just at the far end, and then just gives me an extra sort of pillow, as it were. Got my X-Bed pillow there, and my OEX down sleeping bag, Helios EV, I think it's the lightest one I own. A silk Sea to Summit sleeping bag liner inside, and then I've got my Climate insulated Static V, I think it's called. I can never remember the name of this mat. It's a winter mat, like 3 or 4 seasons. Insulated Static V, so it's a bit warm for this time of year, this one. But I've bought another Climate mat, literally got it today, and that's more designed for summer use. I really like their mats at the moment. So I'm 5'10", and I can comfortably lay down in this tent, and there's probably about 5 inches either end from my feet to my head. In fact, I could move back a little bit. I can move further up with my feet, and now, yeah, my feet are now about 5 inches away from the foot box, and I've still got plenty of room up here, and I've got plenty of room either side of me as well. So I've got that little sort of space down the side here to put stuff that I might need to get to during the night. Yeah, this isn't anywhere near my face really. It's not like touching me or anything like that. And then of course you're going to want to know, can you sit up in it? Of course I'm sat on a Climate mat, and they're about, don't know, they're quite thick, about that thick probably, a couple of inches. So I'm sat upright, and in the middle of the tent, my head is just touching it, but I mean, if I tried to sit right upright, I would be stretching the tent out. If I didn't have the mat in here, it'd be a little bit lower, of course. I'm not too fussed really. I'd say I can sit upright in this. That's upright for me. Not as much head height or headroom as the Helm one, but that's to be expected. It's a much lighter tent. It is smaller in here because it's got that central hoop, and then it slopes away from it on both sides, so you're going to lose some room. But I managed to get changed in this last night. I've got plenty of space to sleep, and I can also pack away in here as well, so if the weather was bad I could pack my sleeping bag, my mat, all my stuff away in here before heading outside to take the tent down. So that's win-win for me. Yeah, I'm pleased with it overall really. It's not as spacious, as I said, as the Helm one. They're different tents, they're completely different styles and shapes and stuff, so it's to be expected. Yeah, if you've got any other questions, do get in the comments below, and I'll try and answer them as best I can. If you've got any advice, for using this tent. If any of you's out there own one, then yeah, do let us know. I want to do the best by this tent really and look after it. It wasn't cheap. I got it on eBay, as I said, and the previous owner used it 4 times, looked after it really well. Everything was in perfect condition. There was nothing wrong with it whatsoever. It literally looked like a brand new tent. The 2-gram titanium pegs looked like they'd never been used, and to be fair, he probably hadn't used them. He probably swapped them out because they're a bit naff. That's one of the only downsides to the tent, but it does help keep the weight down. It was on eBay as buy it now, £195, £5 postage and packaging, or you could make an offer on it. So I knew I was going to be getting it for £200 or less, which straight away is a lot cheaper than what these tend to go for. I've seen some of them go for £260, £300, £250 I think was the cheapest, and I thought I'm never going to get one. I'm not prepared to spend that amount of money just yet. I'll spend up to £200 really, I think, and it'll be like sort of a long-term investment. I've sold a lot of gear for this to afford this tent. I've sold some tents, all kinds of stuff, bivvy bags, you name it, and I had some money saved up as well. Put in a few different offers, they all got rejected, and in the end the seller made me an offer of £185 with of course £5 postage and packaging, so £190 altogether. I was going to try and go for 180, and I thought, what's £5? It's pointless. I could risk losing my attempt to make any more bids on it, and I'd have to just buy it for £195. So I thought, no, I'm going to be sensible, and I'm just going to accept 185. So I did, and it was a man of his word, because he literally posted it that day, I think, and it turned up about 2 days later, which is really good at the moment, because of course with the lockdown and the virus and stuff, the postal service are working really hard and sort of struggling to cope and things like that, and stuff takes a lot longer to get delivered at the moment, or to arrive. So I got this pretty quick, which was good. Yeah, so I'm impressed with the tent overall. I didn't really know what to expect at first, because I've wanted one for so long, literally probably since I started wild camping, when I was really into like ultra lightweight backpacking. Say, I think that was like what, 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, and I always wanted one of these, and then finally it's sort of come to this. I've bought loads of other tents and kind of built up to this one. I feel like started off with cheap and cheerful tents, and I've just gradually spent a little bit more money and kind of upgraded the quality of my shelters as I've gone. And I feel like this is probably like my level ceiling. I've reached that point now, that pinnacle, where I think I wouldn't want to get anything more expensive than this. I wouldn't want to get a Hillyberg or anything like that. I'm quite happy with this. So it's been a long time coming, and I know I do buy a lot of shelters and stuff, but it was all leading to this, I feel. So it doesn't mean to say I'm never going to buy any other tents again. I won't rule that out. There'll probably be something I'll find that I'll want, but for now, in terms of tents goes, I'm really happy with what I've got. I've got the Van Gogh Helvellyn 2-person, which is absolutely bomb proof, and you can have that on mountains and hills in bad weather. There's plenty of space in it, and that stands up to some serious weather. I've got my Wild Country Helm 1 tent, which once again is pretty sturdy. I've had that in some bad weather, bit more space, a little bit lighter. You know, I've done some long distance routes with that as well, and it's served me well. I've got my little Pro Action Tiger Paws 1 tent, the first tent I ever had, really, first wild camping tent I ever had, and that's cheap as chips, but you can't find them anymore, and that's a surprisingly good tent for the money as well. And now I've got this, the Terra Laser Competition 1, so I think that's 4 pretty decent tents. I'm really pleased with them, and there's a wide variety between the tents as well. The only similarity being they're all green, because I think tents should be green. You don't really want a bright red tent or a bright orange tent when you're trying to be stealthy. Maybe if you was up a mountain and the shit hit the fan and you need to be rescued, then it'd be useful, but really I want to stay kind of roughly low key, so green I think is a good option to go with. I'd highly recommend watching Wiltshire man's Terra Laser Competition 1 review. He's owned one for a lot of years, and he reviewed it after owning it for I think 4 years, I think he said, something like that. And yeah, Sandy's a good bloke, he's a nice guy, and that one was particularly useful to me. So to be fair, he does a better job, so I'd just watch that really rather than try and take any advice from this one. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. Sorry it's probably gone on a bit longer than you wanted it to, but hope maybe you found some use out of it. Any advice you've got for me for this tent, please do let me know. Until next time, take care everyone, stay safe, look after each other. Cheers for watching, I'll see you again soon. Bye. Now it just wouldn't be Tom Outdoors without a cider review now, would it? Brothers rhubarb and custard flavoured cider, 4%. Made by 4 brothers in Somerset, working together, finding the perfect balance and making ciders that are wondrously irreplaceable. This unique combination delivers the flavours of crisp, tangy rhubarb and smooth, creamy custard. Curiously original. So to celebrate the new tent, what better way than to crack open a cider. Cheers everyone. On smell alone, it gets 9 out of 10. But on taste, that's a 9.8. Amazing cider. Rhubarb cider's good, but rhubarb and custard, and that's a magic combination. Cheers everyone. See you again soon.